Hey, guess where you landed? Five Lakes Garage, baby. And today we're actually gonna save my little Bubby and build him a bed. All right, if you saw some of the other videos, you've seen my cohort over here, little Corbin. It's my boy. He's 14, and guess what? He's growing really flipping fast. So we got him a new mattress because he was on this little baby one that he had when he was a kid, and he's all crumpled up, looked very cute. But now he's grown up to be, I don't know, a young gentleman, almost an Eagle Scout. But one day he will be getting there. And rain is my problem. So we got him a new box spring and mattress. This guy here was only 79 inches long with the actual bed frame. Now the problem is that his box spring, his new one, is 80 inches long. Guess what? I broke it because I'm like, it's gotta fit. I didn't measure it. Gave a little extra oomph, and yeah, broke the hell out of it. So this guy here actually just fell off, has two pins, it fits right in there. So what we're actually gonna do with this is take this plywood, which is 3/4 of an inch thick, and we're gonna replicate this right here. And we're going to change it up slightly because as you can see, it's got nails going through here. Now that's probably just ease of manufacturing because it is used 1 inch plywood, multiple stacks. We got 3/4 because what we're going to do with this is actually rip it down. We're going to be gluing these together. And then, so we're going to glue these two together to make the rail. We're going to glue that to one piece of the actual frame itself. And then we're going to take all of our screws and go in from this side because we don't want to see it. And then to finish it all off, we're going to put one more strip on the outside and actually make it, might even paint it brown, stain it or something. Now this isn't exactly high grade plywood, but it's enough. He's only going to be using for another couple of years. So anyway, so what we're going to do is cut this guy down to length because right now it's a 4x8 sheet of plywood and it is hard to just wiggle this thing around in such a small shop. And yes, I know a lot of you do not have a shop like this. I do apologize, but I do love my shop. So we're going to actually cut this down a little bit to make it a little bit more wielding to get on the table saw. Now as far as the length goes, this guy right here, this guy is 76 inches long. Now when you actually put the headboard and the footboard together, it's got a little bit of an inset. It's 1.5 inches on both sides. So I'm just going to add 3 inches. So if that's 76, it goes up to 79. 79 is not 80. That's the reason why she broke. So we're going to cut this plywood at 78 because that's going to give us 1 inch of wiggle room so we don't blast it out like we just did a little bit ago. So let's get this board cut down to 80 inches. But I'm gonna need some pencils. Let's see if I have enough pencils. All right, I got one. All right, here's a little tip when you're actually doing stuff like this. Whatever tape measure you start with is the tape measure you finish with. Don't use multiple tape measures only because they're not the same. You can get some really high-end stuff. This is just a really old Stanley. It's not that high-end. But if you look right here, this right here, actually you can see this one. Let's see if it'll focus. See how much that moves? Yeah, that could be a lot if you go from one that's tight, one that's loose. That could be a lot of difference. So use the same tape measure. Problem is I gave my good one to Ray so she can have it in her truck. Alright, as you can see, I do have my line, but I do not have my brace next to my line. Only because, excuse me, I took a measurement of my blade to the outside of my fence on my saw, and it's about 1.5 inches. Now your saw might be a little bit different, mine's 1.5 inches. And so I'm going to use this guy here because it is a nice straight edge, so I can actually get this cut nice and straight. Now, one couple of quick tips. Your clamps, go ahead and put the excess down below, only because you don't want to get caught on your shirt, get caught on your hand, get caught on whatever, and you should be able to easily get it to a nice straight cut. Now the only thing I gotta do now is find my spectacles. See what we got. Man, I tell you, the technology with batteries have come a really long way, I have to say. All right, now this board is a little bit more manageable. And also when you actually measure your blade and your actual guard, just know that your blade is typically 1/8 of an inch. So make sure you start cutting on the correct side of the line. So in this case, I was right on it. Alrighty, got a plan. Kind of sort of had a plan, but now I really got a plan. Alright, so I took a measure of this. It's about 4.5 inches wide. Now, when I say my boy's growing up, he's kind of built like me. We're heavy people. Not fat, just heavy. So instead of 4.5, I'm going to do 5 inches, 5 inches, 5 inches, 5 inches. So we need 4 of these. And then for these little rails, these guys here, this one is approximately 1.5 inches. I'm going to make 2 inches. Just because I can, and I got plenty of board left over. So you don't have to take it 100% right where they want to do it. So we're going to put a little bit of extra beef in there. So hopefully when he's jumping around on the thing, it won't break again. So anyway, all right, excuse me, I'm going to get the table saw ready. Did I ever tell you how much I love my table saw? Everybody should have one. All right, slight change of plans. Instead of 5 inches, I'm going to do 6 inches. We're going to make it look beef. But I need some help. So I'm waiting for my Slack Life Scout to get up here. Hey, look who it is with flip-flops in the shop.
You didn't tell me what I needed. You just said come to the shop.
Anyway, we're going to rip this thing down as soon as I find my spectacles again. I'll put them down.
If you're looking for that, I'll just go grab some.
All right, thanks for Corbin's help. I can actually handle it from here because now it's just a bunch of gluing. But he's got to go off and take care of some schoolwork, I hope. Anyway, so what we're actually going to do, we're just going to use some Tight Bond 3s, same stuff I use all the time anyway. And we're going to coat both of the little pieces. Now we have 4 of the big ones, like I was saying. So these are all the way down. And they are 6 inches wide because I changed it from 5 to 6. Hey, it's my project, my prerogative. And then these guys here are where the planks are actually going to be sitting on. I'm going to be gluing 2 of these together and then gluing and screwing one of those boards to this. But for the first task is that we're going to put these 2 together, so that we can have our rails. Now, if you look over here, they're a little bit warped. Just a little bit. So what we're going to do is figure out which way they're actually warped, and then we're going to sandwich them together. As you can see, they've got a gap. They're not going to have a gap anymore. So one hopefully will counteract the other. Now, to start off, bam! That's what I'm talking about. Alright, so we're just going to coat this thing down with some glue. We're going to stack them up together, and then we're going to put a crap ton of clamps on it. And then tomorrow, we're going to come back and start phase 2. And you can stick around or fast forward if you want to see me glue. I know it's exciting. Some would say I use too many clamps. I say nay, nay. You can never use too many clamps. Now there is a couple different ways you can actually clamp this. Now you could have glued these 2 together, glue those together, and then stack them on top and then clamp them all in one shot. Now the only problem with that one that I was kind of thinking through my head is that all of the drips, If you don't clean that up, you're gluing both of them together, and that's probably not what you want to do. I do have enough clamps that I can actually do both of them at the same time. Now, I've also taken 2x4s and sandwiched those together, but then again, the glue might leak into the 2x4 and get that thing stuck. So I just did it this way. They're pretty straight. Once we put them on the other boards, it will get straighter. And then when I actually put it on the other board, I might use a 2x4 because it's going to be a little bit thicker, and hopefully I won't get glue on that so it actually gets stuck. I've also used this stuff, which is great. All right, in just about every woodworking shop, you need a couple things. One, you need glue by the gallon. So go ahead and pick up glue by the gallon. That's what you need. Also, the other thing that you're going to need is an entire roll of parchment paper. Now, if you're gluing a bunch of stuff, this stuff is awesome. What I'm probably going to do with this right here with those other boards is actually put a little layer of this in between my 2x4 so I can make sure it's all nice and flat and straight and it won't stick to it. The only problem though is that you use a lot of this stuff. So I'm trying to use it sparingly. Alright, the only thing we have left to do now is watch the glue dry. Yeah, it's drying. So yeah, I'm going to come back tomorrow. We'll go ahead and finish this up, and hopefully I'll have time to actually put a transmission in a Mazda. Maybe we'll do some mechanic work too. Anyway, good night. See you tomorrow. So it's been an entire day and we're back in the shop, but today it's going to be something really quick and really simple because, hey, we got to let the glue dry again. So we're going to get all these clamps out, but we're going to keep them over to the side because we're getting ready to use them again. I hope. All right, they're relatively straight, got a little bit of a bow in there, but once we actually put everything together, hopefully that will actually even out, I hope. I think when I put the next one in there, since we're going to be gluing so far away from the edge, I'm going to use some 2x4s to make sure that it is nice and flat. And once it dries, it should be pretty straight. But if you notice on this guy, I got a lot of drips, I got a lot of everything else, and it is not 100% nice and true. So what we're going to do is actually put it on the planer, or maybe in this case on the joiner, and just kind of true that up a little bit. I don't know, I'm thinking the planer. Yeah, I'm going to do a planer. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. Some of this bigger pieces of glue, we're just going to hit that with a chisel. Kind of knock that off and then run it through the planer. Make sure it's nice and purty. Oh, I ate too much dinner. Whew. Alright, I just threw these guys through the planer and cleaned it up. And everything is nice and true. I was filming it, at least I thought it was. So just take my word for it. It went through the planer. Okay, so what we got to do now is set it up kind of sort of like the other ones, right? If you look at these, this board is a little bit past this guy, so we're just going to replicate that, which is a total of 1.5 inches. Now, don't forget, use the same tape measure. So we're going to take 1.5 inches off of this side, 1.5 inches off of that side. But in actuality, I'm going to take 3 inches. Just so all I have to do is cut it once. There you go, 3 inches. Alright, so I went in 1.5 inches on this side, and basically this is going to rest right there. So this is actually going to be true right down here on the bottom, all the way across. Once I slot line her up. There you go. So we're just going to glue this together. Now, once this is actually glued together and we're all where we want it to be, tomorrow I'm going to come in, once this dries, flip it over, and then we're going to put screws all through this thing just to make sure. Now, we're going to go from the back side. Yeah, let me put this down. I need fingers. There we go. All right, so just to let you know what the finished product is going to look like, this is going to sit up here. We're going to glue that together. We're going to put screws all throughout here, and then we're going to take yet another board, and then we're going to be gluing that on there, but not before we router out the edges so we can actually put our brackets on. But first, we need to glue this thing together. Let me get some stuff prepped. We'll be right there with you. I need some tuber first. All right, we're almost ready to glue. Now, remember when I said earlier that you have to buy glue by the gallon? This will be the reason, because we're gluing again. So what do I have here is a 2x4. Now, the straightest 2x4s you have, go ahead and use them. If you really want to be precise, you can put them on the planer, you can put them on the joiner to make sure everything is true. I'm just going to glue the piss out of this thing. And then I'm going to do the other side, and you don't need to see that because you only need to see it once. All right, there we go. Now they are as straight as I can get them. And if anybody ever asks if you have enough clamps, you tell them no. I need a whole lot of big clamps. I am out of clamps. That's not cool. If you have some and you're not using them anymore, send them on over. P.O. Box 821, Holly Springs, North Carolina, 27540. Just send them on over. I will use them and give you credit for it. And maybe I'll even send you something in return. We'll see. Maybe I'll make you something. We'll see. Anyway. Wow. I just got glue on my face. Oh, I need to get some sleep. Alright. We'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully these things will stay overnight and go ahead and dry. And then we'll be on to the next step. And hopefully by Sunday morning or tomorrow night, we'll be able to put this bed back together. Still got to figure out the finishing touch, because we can't just have them looking like plywood. Need to figure something out. All right, once again, brand new day, and we're going through a lot more glue. So I've already got one actually already done. Check it out. As you can see, I made a big mess with put too much glue on it. But I went ahead and installed these guys. So these are pretty much exactly how they were on this. I did have to drill that out a little bit so I can actually get the pins out, but everything there should be ready to go. But now I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this one that matches that one. Yeah. All right. So when I actually did the measurements on the other one, I just wrote it down on the table. Now this one here is like 1 3/8 inches down by 1 inch over. That's where the first notch is going to be. That's where my mark is right here. And then I took my little dealie here, because I'm just using what was on the old one. Line that up into the middle, and based on my drill a hole there, and I'm gonna drill a hole there. And then to sit this in there right, I'm gonna use my router and carefully, I already drew it out, carefully route that out to actually inset this in there. Before I do that, I'm gonna cut some holes, or drill some holes, and get it ready for the pins. And the pins are nothing more than these little pieces of steel rod. Yeah. Anyway, drill, router, put this guy in there. I got to do both ends. And once I get both ends in there, I should be able to go ahead and put a bunch of glue on there. And once again, I need more clamps. Ah. Anyway, let me find my spectacles and get routering. Alright, I got this. It's nice and flush, and I should have said that earlier, but all I really did was take this and I just adjusted my height. I don't know if you can see it. So it is pretty much flush with that. So now this guy kind of sits in there like so. Now don't forget to have these little hooks towards the bottom, because they're going to be hooking onto some brackets inside the headboard, and to be able to hit that in there. So now all I have to do is drive in those two pins right there, glue this together, and hopefully it should not come apart. The only problem though, I get dusty. All right, I got both sides routed out. Everything seems to be okay. I did put the pins in, which that seems to be okay. Now, I know that the glue that we put in through here is strong enough to hold this thing together. No doubt about it. But what I'm going to do here is actually put a few screws. In this particular case, about every 9.5 inches. Which apparently I can't do my math because that is not 9.5 inches. But it should be okay. This is only precautionary. I'm pretty sure the glue, actually I know the glue will actually hold better than anything else. But it makes me feel warm and tingly inside, knowing that I actually put a mechanical bond in this board. And also, we're going to be gluing on one more set of plywood on the outside of this, so you will not see it anyway. Don't make a difference. Alright, so countersunk each one. Also put a pilot hole in each one just so that less chance of splitting. Shouldn't split, but you never know. It could. So the next step here is to get everything cleaned up out of the way, dump on a buttload of glue, and find some spare clamps and start clamping this thing down. Now, seeing as that we used the 2x4s earlier, this board here should be really straight. We don't have to use the plywood, the 2x4s on this one. You can if you want. I didn't do it on the other one only because without the 2x4s, I get to use more clamps because I have a bunch of clamps that are a little, yeah, they're too small. But I get to use those. Makes you feel warm and tingly. But first, I need to get my brackets on, which I'm standing on. Well, make sure your brackets are aimed the right direction, because once you put this thing together, you're not taking it apart. So now, wonderful world of glue. Now this is definitely one section because we got to use a lot of this stuff that you need to buy by the gallon, like I said before. And also, just know a lot of it's going to squish out all over your tools, all over your floor, and all over your table. But hey, that's the price you pay. All right, we're back on the bed project, and everything is dry, everything is straight, and everything is, well, it's pretty darn heavy. Right now it's just regular plywood, and I'm just gonna go ahead and sand it. I did get a little rambunctious with the glue, got a little of my floor and everything. But we just need to clear that off, because if you put any stain or polyurethane or stuff like that, it's not gonna be looking good. I'm gonna get some of this glue off, and then hopefully this thing will be ready to put on his bed. Maybe. Alright, so I'm going to use the belt sander to actually get the glue off. Just be careful if you do use a belt sander, especially with like, I think this is like a 50 grit paper. Move quickly, or else you will have little spots up, spots up. It's the only problem with using a belt sander. You got to use your head. Don't put a lot of pressure on it. Just move it nice and slowly, and it will make it look nice. All right, got it nice and true and clean. Mostly. Now we still got to sand. All right, got all the glue cleaned off. I used the belt sander a little bit to get some of the bigger chunks off, and then I actually used the joiner, which worked out great. The only problem about using the joiner is that when it spins, the end of it might fray a little bit. It is plywood after all. But that's going to be on the inside, and you will not see it, I hope. So what I'm going to do now is actually just hit it with a orbital sander. Would highly recommend you getting an orbital sander. This has been a game changer. I did have the little palm vibrating sander, which worked out great for years, but this guy puts it to shame. I ain't gonna lie to you. It goes around in circles. You don't have to worry about where the grain's going. It's just gonna sand it, and it does awesome. So we're going to sand this down to make a smooth finish. I did talk to him a little bit about it, and he basically said, hey, just paint it a dark color and stick it on. He doesn't care. So I'm not gonna laminate this guy. I'm just gonna sand it down so it doesn't get too many splinters. I might throw some stain on it, but that takes time. We'll see how much time we have. But for right now, sand it. 120 on the palm, orbital sander. Let's make it happen. All right, apologize for the fan noise, but we need to have a well-ventilated area. So these things are all sanded down, about 120. Not overly concerned about going down any further. This is going into a little teenager boy's room. And I don't plan on selling these things. So what we're gonna do is actually just gonna throw some stain on it. Now I do have some leftover, what is this? Water-based red mahogany. Is it gonna match what he has? No, but at least it'll be dark. And his room is dark anyway, so you probably can't tell. Now, a couple things when you are staining. If you really care about it, you want to condition your wood. Basically, there's a wood conditioner that you put on it. It's clear. Put it on there, let it dry, and then when you put the stain on there, it absorbs, hopefully, evenly. But today, I'm in a rush, and I just don't care. All right, so I got my tacky cloth here. It's gonna wipe it down, make sure they don't have anything on there. And then you're gonna throw some stain on there and then wipe it off. And here's my rag.
Oh my gosh.
All right, got my rag, so I'm gonna throw some stain on there, wait about 5-10 minutes, wipe it off. If I want it darker, put some more stain on there, wipe it off. You're basically wiping it off only because if you leave it too much up there, it gets splotchy. You don't want splotchy. Anyway, let's get this guy stirred up and let's get commencing. I'm excited. All right, so they have been stained, they have been polyurethane just because, well, kind of needed something because it was getting kind of runny. A couple of things that I did not the greatest. Too much dust in the air. I could feel it in the polyurethane. I didn't clean it off enough, but it's going to be enough for what it's for. So like I said before, if you want to do something a little bit better, then I would say put a laminate on it or actually sand it down or do whatever. It's up to you. This is your project. For us, this is gonna be good enough. So now, since it's dry to the touch, I'm gonna bring it upstairs and actually put it together and close this out by showing his bed in one piece. And it's not too bad. I mean, it's brown. So definitely not gonna match to the other stuff. It kind of almost looks like plasticky stuff. But anyway, hopefully this kind of inspires you to build your own stuff. If it doesn't work, go ahead and build it. Modify it, make it work. Use some of the parts that they had, use their design. They spent a lot of time and effort designing it. There's been some reinventing the wheel. We just made these a little bit longer and a little bit stronger. So anyway, take it easy, have fun. Catch you guys next time. And hopefully these fit, because I haven't really tested it yet. Later.